Have you ever been running late for work, but you're low on gas? You stop at the gas station, you put a few bucks in, you swipe your card. Oh my gosh, it's declined. You pull out another card, same thing. Wouldn't that be an absolute nightmare? Well, here's the thing. That is the reality of a lot of people, and they don't talk about it because they're embarrassed and ashamed. And today we're going to talk about it. Okay. So I'm Renee Haraney. This is a Peoria Professional show. And today my special guest is Vickie Streitmatter. And Vickie is an expert on coaching people through getting out of debt. It is possible for you to get out of debt, for anybody to get out of debt, regardless of how much money you make, what your spending patterns currently are. Right, Vickie?
Right.
So today I want to share, Vickie. First of all, let's talk about your own story, and then we'll talk about how you help people and also like some of the situations that people are in right now and that pain that they have that they're not even sharing and they're just carrying that, inside and suffering. But I really want to talk about the hope and how you can help people. So let's
Okay.
start with your story.
Okay. Well, about 10 and a half years ago, I just found myself always kind of being stressed about money. We were able to pay our bills, but I always would have this little time where I'd like, maybe the taxes were due or insurance or something, and it was like a bigger amount. I knew it was coming, but I wasn't quite ready for it. It just kind of threw me for a loop. And I would do the thing like rob Peter to pay Paul. We had money in savings, so I'd scoot it over to checking and pay it. But then we went right back to living the way we'd been living. And so we weren't saving any money at all. Savings was dwindling. And I just felt I felt that kind of that hopeless feeling like this is just keep going this way. And we have to do something. And so I'd talk to my husband and he'd go, oh, it'll be all right. He'd give me that typical man answer. And what I wanted was him to sit down with me and look and to help me. And he was having none of that. So I just kind of kept trudging along and doing the same old thing. And I'd be a little better for a couple of months, and then something else would come up that would just kind of throw me for a loop again. And I just kept doing that. And what I think had happened is the previous 3 years, he was making more money than he'd ever made in his life. And he was working extra sometimes. So we were doing what they call the lifestyle creep.
Okay.
You make a little more, you spend a little more. You make a little more, you think you're going to save more, you don't. You just keep going. I had just recently bought a new car, brand new car. We had started an addition on our home equity line of credit, and some credit cards. And the credit cards weren't huge, but it just kept going. And I had never looked at that amount. And finally, after months of this wondering and worrying and stressing about the money, I just said to myself, he's not going to do it. He's not going to help me. I have to do it myself. So I just sat down. Didn't want to really, but I sat down and I just started looking at our numbers. And I saw right away, we were spending $200, $300, $400 a month more than we were making every single month.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So that I thought, well, this can't go on. It's gone on long enough. So I was a little bit mean to him, and I just said, we got to stop this and we've got to do something else. And he was pretty willing to go along with me. He wasn't excited about it, let's say, but he would tell you he wanted to do it, but he didn't want to do it as bad as I did. But I just said to him, I said, we have to do this. And so I kind of just told him some things that I thought we had to cut out right away. Some of them were his, some of them were mine, but we just, started. And I just said to him, I'm going to do it. And the one thing that I remember so well, I was spending probably $300 to $400 a month, almost every month when I came to Peoria. Now, see, we live out an hour away from Peoria, but I would come in once a week. And when people that live out there like that, we usually come into town, and we try to do 5 or 6 things when we're in town for the gas,
Right.
the time.
Right.
So I would stop at 3 or 4 different stores, and I'd get, go in here to get this and this, and I'd come out with 10 more things. And I'd go into the other store and the same thing. So I made a vow right then and there when I had that discussion with him. I said, I am not going shopping. I'm not going to a store. He looked right at me and he said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Oh, yes, I can." So that was what I did. I didn't go into a store. I went to Kroger to buy my groceries. And if I couldn't buy it at Kroger, I wasn't going to get it. And that's the other thing that we had that conversation. What do we need? We were 50 years old. You know, we have a lot of stuff. We have plenty of clothes. Food is what we needed. So I said, if we don't need it, we're not going to buy it. So that's what I started doing. And I just would go to Kroger and get my groceries. And, you know, I used to buy paper towels over here. And, you know, what I mean, I'd shop different stores to get that sale price. Right. I just stopped all that. I didn't go to a store. Probably.
So when was this?
This was December of 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 10 and a half years ago.
We started like 2 weeks before Christmas. People will tell me, "Oh, we can't do it now. You know, Christmas is coming." It's like,
yeah,
you
it's
can't.
like starting
you
a diet the Friday before a holiday.
You can do it you can do it anytime you want to, and anytime you decide to. So we started in December, and that was the first month that we really cut the things out. And I would never say it was easy, but I knew that as bad as it was, that things had to be different in order to get better. And when I added up, you know, the spending, it was one thing, but then I added up our debt, and that was another. It was, I believe it was $45,000 and some odd change.
And how long did it take you to pay it off?
It took us 2 years.
Okay. And what did you do with that new car? You mentioned you had bought a new car.
Oh, I kept it.
You kept it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd had it a year, I had it over a year. So I was of the mind to sell it, but I owed more on it than it was worth at first. But when it got down a little bit more, I said to him, I said, "Why don't we sell my car?" And I said, "Then we won't have as much debt to pay off." And he goes, "No," he says, "you just bought it. You know what it's, you've been taking care of it and everything." So we just muddled through that. But we thought originally that it would take us 3.5 years, and it only took us 2.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, the thing is, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, debt snowball starts rolling, and you start making progress, and you see you're paying things off. It makes you more motivated to just, keep at it and even do more things and find other ways that you can cut things out or.
So I know a lot, your beliefs, principles, practices are in line pretty much with Dave Ramsey and what he teaches. Yeah. Did you actually meet Dave Ramsey, or like did you read one of his books? How did that come about? When we started on the debt payoff thing, we had both, my husband and I both, like a year or two earlier, taken a class at ICC called Debt Free and Prosperous by John Camuto. It's a real similar thing to Dave Ramsey, but it was like a 2-hour class. They just told you, "Here, do these things," and they gave you a little book. Go do this.
Yeah. And so we did some of them. And
I'm sure everybody totally did it and was totally successful.
We did some of the things, and for a period of time, like a couple years before, I'm talking about like 2004, we were, if we weren't debt-free, we were almost completely debt-free. And then things just started to sneak back in. The part that I didn't get was, once you get debt-free, or even before you get free, you're supposed to stop borrowing money. You're supposed to stop using a credit card. Because if you're paying and you keep adding, you're never going to get out of there. And that's what would happen with us. We started right back into the buying the things we wanted. Right. That like I said, lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
Yeah. So that gave you a really great feeling then, right? Like, don't you have like so much more confidence and peace?
Absolutely. My gosh.
Your blood pressure,
yeah,
it may not have been a problem before, but I'm sure it's even lower now.
Yeah.
You always seem so calm to me. We were talking a few minutes ago about when we met.
Yes.
And it's, been a couple of years or something. But I know, like, just knowing you, I've been like aware of what you do, that you have a resource yourself, and so in my mind, I've been like, okay, I really need to get together with Vickie. And so it took me a while, but a year ago, keep that in mind, a year ago, we sat down and really talked about the first steps that I need to take. And I was like, Yeah, and I put these great notes on my refrigerator, and it was like tomorrow, 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 and then I think you sent me a private message on Facebook about a week or two ago and said, do you realize it's been a year since we talked? And I'm like, oh, there's like cloud of shame comes over me, and I'm like, okay, we are getting together. I want to set a date, and I said, I will reach back out to you in a couple of weeks. Now, okay, did I do anything over the last couple of weeks? No, I didn't change anything. I didn't, research anything. I didn't look into my numbers. I just let a couple of weeks go by. I don't know why, but I think that's so common.
It's typical. It's just how we are.
Well, I am proud to say that we
We
are
have
getting
an
together.
appointment.
We have an appointment on that date, and I know what I need to do, and I will have done it. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to do this.
It's good to have witnesses.
Right. Yeah, the accountability is such
Absolutely.
a huge part
Absolutely.
of this, right?
It certainly is.
I mean, I think, anybody, and we live in the information age, right?
Right.
And so anybody can buy a book, listen to podcasts, Google, download things. There's all the resources are right there on the internet. But what you offer is something totally unique, and that is yourself. You offer encouragement and practical steps that work because you've done them for yourself.
Right.
You've helped other people do it. You've got everything. Your prices are so economical. I've told you should be charging more money.
I know. It's hard for me to do.
I know. But you're so passionate about helping people. And I think we just all have to find that place in our heart, where we're like, okay, there's no reason to put this off for another day or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. Things are not going to get better. Things are only going to get worse.
Yes.
Right?
Until you face it and you make that decision and you start doing the steps you have to do, you're just going to keep spinning your wheels. And that's how a lot of people feel. They're
Yes.
just spinning their wheels. They're in that little hamster wheel and, just can't get anywhere. They're just stuck.
Right. So I know that there's some people listening have had these situations like I described at the gas station in the beginning of this, or maybe they're at the grocery store. I mean, I'm just going to say, I feel like this is therapy for me every week. Where's my couch? But like, there have been times when I've gone to the grocery store and I've only had $36. And so I'm like cautiously adding items to my cart that don't get over $35. I mean, that's awful. Who wants to live that way? Yeah. I don't want to live that way. I don't want to be stressed like that. I don't want my sons to, have that approach. I want them to see that I've been successful at conquering this beast, because if I can't conquer it, there's a greater chance they will have a similar problem. Maybe not to the same extent or whatever, but I want to be an inspiration to them, and plus I want that financial freedom to be able to help people, instead of always being focused on myself and what I don't have or what I need to do. I want to be in a situation where I have the same sense of calm that you have. And for myself, but also the joy of helping somebody else.
That is one of the major things I think. It's so many people want to help other people, but they either can't help them, or when they help people, then it is a detriment to themselves.
Yeah. Right.
That's not good. I mean,
Right.
it's such a freeing feeling to know that, somebody needs help, you can help them. We give to certain different organizations, but randomly, I'll just see somebody that I know needs, and one way or another, I'll figure out a way to help them. And it's a really good feeling to be able to do that, to leave a really big tip, or, just to help a single mother in need or something like that.
So speaking of tips, I got this cute story. So I don't know this woman personally. She's with the same wellness company that I'm with, but she's the top earner in the company. Single mom, 3 kids. and they're probably like grade school age or something like that. And so when they go out to eat, they always pay someone's bill secretly. Okay. And so she said she's trained her kids to really be secretive about this. And it's like kind of a fun thing that they do and everything. Well, earlier this week, they were paying someone's bill and they got caught. Okay. So this person whose bill they were paying, they started like chasing them because they wanted to thank them. But the little girl, her daughter, was like, "Oh my gosh, we got to get out of here. We're going to get arrested." Just love that story.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so inspiring to know that there's people out there who routinely do this, and just that, like they overcame, I know where they came from. They came from a really tough spot, but they were able to, get all the debt paid off, or I should say, because she's a single mom, but she was able to get all of her debt paid off. And now she's able to teach her children to give, and to be helping people instead of just, being in a place of, of lack or whatever. And I think there's so many people, it just gets worse and worse. Our economy is not in a good place, and not. Everything is always, we always feel like, we're concerned. I mean, I think half the time that people watch the news, they're watching it because they're afraid of what's going to happen, right? But what you're offering is that peace. Who cares? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, not who cares, but like anything can happen with, the politics, and
economy,
so forth. The economy,
the
exactly.
Government,
Right.
Well, that you bring something up, it make me think about something. Well, when we started to get at it, it was 2006. It was 2008. We became debt free in December of 2008, and I mean, the world was crashing down around us,
Right. Yes,
and I just remember thinking to myself, I am so glad we're where we are now, because I mean, if we had not, we would have been, feeling like a lot of other people.
You just like sat up straighter when you said that.
It was like we were, taking care of ourselves, and we were taking care of business, and we knew where we were, we knew where we were going, and we just kept kind of, marching along and doing what we needed to do. And, as soon as that, December 8 was over, 2009 started, I mean, we were, ready to save our emergency fund, a big emergency fund, and it just, we just kept marching right along, and nothing, was going to bother us. I think you may know this, and some people do, but in February of 2009, my husband had a giant tear and detachment of his retina.
Oh.
He was off work for 2 or 3 months at first. He had 5 surgeries within a year, and he was on disability for 6 months that year.
Wow.
And we had just paid off the debt, and we were really trying to start that emergency fund, and, like more than almost a half his salary was gone. But we were still able to just keep going along, and we could pay all our bills. Of course, we had no debt left, but, to pay the light bill and everything, and, buy groceries and pay the doctor bills. We had insurance, but we also had co-pays and stuff. We had to meet our deductible because it was just February, so we hadn't done any of that yet. So, but when a doctor bill came in, we had the money set aside to pay that doctor bill. And we just kept going right along, and it didn't really affect us at all, and we still saved we have about a 4-month emergency fund, and we saved that by November. And we just kept going, and,
That's a determination. You had made up your mind.
Right, exactly.
You had a plan.
Yes.
And you were just determined to see it through.
Yeah. And we just kept going, and we still, we plan, we try to think ahead a little bit, like what's coming up, what are we going to need to do? Does the car need tires, in a couple months, or do we need a new car, a different car? That's another thing. We bought 2 vehicles and paid cash for them. And that's just really weird amazing. Because, we did that when we were first married because we just, we bought a $500 car maybe, but this time it was like much more than that. I bought a car a few months ago, and
I used to sell cars, and I can tell you not many people paid cash. Seriously, the only people who wrote a check were retired, like they had a great career with Caterpillar, or they owned their own business,
Right.
and those are the
Yeah.
only people.
Yeah.
Just the average
Yeah.
person isn't walking in writing a check for a $10,000
But
car or more.
it's really about thinking where do I want to be, what I want to be able to accomplish. And a lot of it is money, because you need money for everything in your life, but there's something else about it. It's like this feeling of accomplishment, this feeling of
Empowerment.
Yeah, it feels really good to know that you took that challenge, and you got the job done. You're just continuing to get better and better.
Right. Okay. So, what should people do today?
Well, probably the first thing they should do is really to start to pay attention to what they're doing. Because so many of us, and I was this way too, you run around, you're busy, you're working, you got kids doing things or whatever, you just run around like crazy, and you never stop and take the time to look at how much am I spending, and where am I spending it, and why am I spending it, how much debt do I have, am I spending more than I make? You just need to look at those numbers and kind of, so many people they'll just grab, they're by the register, they'll grab something,
Right. Oh, yes.
You're always grabbing things,
Yes.
and this Susie would like this, you know what I mean? We buy things all the time for other people sometimes. A lot of people are givers, and so they'll buy something for somebody else. Or think about how many people you've heard talk about how they'll buy they'll buy clothes, and 6 months later, a year later, they're cleaning out their closet and they haven't even worn the item. It's still got tags on it. You see that when you go shopping, like at Goodwill or somewhere. There's a lot of things that they have on the racks that have tags on them yet, because they didn't even wear them.
Right.
So they don't even know. There's no connection between what they're doing. They just run around and do things, and they don't even think about what they're doing. But you need to pay attention to what you're doing.
So just by pay attention, you mean to actually write it down, track it in your phone.
It's a really good thing to track what you're doing. And if you're going to do that, track it in your phone, or write it down, or keep your receipts, whatever. But just keep doing what you have been doing. Just live your life for like at least 2 weeks a month. Just live like you've been living. But as you take those notes and look at those things, start to think about that. What am I doing here?
Right. I think.
And then,
so what do you think about? I don't know where this is coming from, because I don't even drink. But I know there's a lot of people who spend a lot of money on things like alcohol. Okay, and like what would you say to them because they're thinking, like someone recently said to me, for health reasons, she's not supposed to drink coffee or alcohol, but she said without coffee or wine, I'd have no life. Okay, so, and I think she was kind of being playful with it, but I think that's an actual hard thought for a lot of people, and it may be something else. It may be, steak dinners on Friday nights, or, something like, I don't know, a snowmobile, or you know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so how would you address the feeling of still having a life, but maybe cutting out some of those unnecessary things?
Well, the word that comes to my mind first is contentment. We keep talking about, I want this, I want to do that, I deserve this, and all that. And it's like we're just running around there again, just doing things haphazardly, sort of. And I think what person needs to do is really just sit down and think about their life and what are the really important things, family, friends, maybe it's, doing some volunteer work or something. But think about what is really, really important to you and try to start to focus on some of those things. If you have children, your family is really important to you, like you just said about your boys. Most people, I think, would like to be able to be a role model for their children.
Right.
And if you don't have your money act together, how in the world can you show that to your children? I mean, you can't. And think about what that thing is, whatever it is really doing to those important things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
a lot of people do think living on a budget is hard and it's no fun at all, but it's like you have to start to shift your mind to think of what can we do that's really a fun thing that doesn't really cost a lot of money. And there are a lot of things that you can
Right.
do.
And make like
that.
a game of it, too.
Absolutely. Involve your children, challenge. I've heard of a lot of children that are in the family that actually sometimes the children are who bring the parents back because the parents are thinking about buying something or spending,
Right. That accountability.
Well, Mom, if you do that, we won't be debt free, And
Yeah.
so, but get everybody involved
Right.
and
then there's a lot of people who don't have someone else, who are just single, or maybe they're married and their spouse is like really putting up some resistance and they really need some support. And I think that is just one area where you yourself are just such a huge asset to people. I mean, that's kind of how I feel myself, it's just me and my
thank
son.
you. Well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I had no idea how it felt to be able to do that, to pay off the debt and to live debt free.
Right.
And I want the biggest thing I want to put out there for people is I want you to know that there's hope. I want to offer you that for the future. There is hope, and you can do it too. We've done it, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want other people to know. Because I mean, so many people get mired down in that whole mess of things and just think there's no way out. The American dream is dead. The little guy can't get ahead. All those things, and I firmly believe that none of those things are true if you have the desire and you're willing to work a little bit. And
it's absolutely possible.
Absolutely.
So I want to encourage you to connect with Vickie. Her website is empoweredfinancialliving.com, and she has a Facebook page where she's very active and provides lots of great information and encouragement, and that is Empowered Financial Living with Vickie Streitmatter. So connect with Vickie and just know that there is help for you. You can make a change, and don't think about it so far down the road. Just think about like, what's the next step that I need to take?
One step at a time.
That's right. Vickie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
PeoriaLife.com